We're going to talk about the text process. What does it mean? It happens a lot in programming that we have some sort of the textual information like this in a file or in a terminal, received in a terminal or something like that. And we want to extract some information from that. We want to clean them. We want to, use them in some other functions, etc. So we should be able to work with the textual data. That's very important capability. In most of the programming, let's say in all of the programming languages, we have this capability. So that's what exactly we want to talk about today. So imagine we have some sort of textual data like that, which is probably the EC2 timetable class, something like this. As you can see, probably we have some numbers here, the code of module, blah, blah, name of module, etc. Of course, here should be 2 because that's CA277. So we have some textual data, something like that. We already know how to read the sequence of the lines into a list of lines. We know how to read this information into a string or something like that. So here we want to know how we can manipulate this kind of information, this kind of textual data. We have two great methods in here, which called split and join. They help us a lot to play with the textual information. So a string, like I said, they are method, and in object-oriented programming, you have method under the needs of the variable or the thing you define, the class you define, and those methods, they are just some functions which do something for you. Okay, so a split, what does a split do? Easily, the best idea to understand what is a split doing is to look at an example. Imagine I have this string line, this string, which is this sort of characters, words, and sentences. Let's say together. So I have line as a string. I want to separate all the individual words inside this string. I want to extract this information. In other words, I want to do two different things. First of all, I want to get rid of the white space, and then I want to put any of them inside an entity of this list. In other words, I want to create a list, and then inside the list, for each entity of the list, I want to have each of these guys. So split does that for us. If you say define a new variable tokens equal to the variable I already had, and then a split without no parameter inside the parentheses, then it will get rid of the white space in here for me, and then it will put all the single connected words in each these things together. Since the whole story has been a string, so the entities are similarly strings. So I can print them. I can say print tokens, the first value, which is 1, and so on. So that's what a split does actually. Split splits everything inside the string, gets rid of the white spaces. Like I said, if you don't use any parameter in here inside the parentheses, if you don't use anything, then just it easily gets rid of these things. Let's have another example. In this example, I have more than one white space, and also I have here and here. If I say print, I have printed in here, I can say tokens, for example, or I don't know, x is equal to s dot split without any parameter. That means please get rid of all the white space and bring all the individual characters into different entities of the list. So we can calculate the length of, let's say, x was equal. The length of x would be 2 because I have 2 values. Okay? So with no parameters, it removes any leading or trailing white space characters. It converts rounds of white space character to a single. That's exactly what I say. So that would happen with the split without any parameter. In the resulting list, you are guaranteed that none of the strings are empty. See? None of the strings are empty in here. Okay, none of the string. But anyway, it could happen sometimes when the original string by itself is empty. So if you say please get rid of the white space because there is no parameter in here, and put everything inside the string. It says whatever I can see here is white space, so I cannot see anything else. So the result is I will give you back an empty string, an empty list. So it might happen. But if you have any other characters than the white space, so definitely it's not empty and you will have something. Okay, so you can, all the time we talk about if there is nothing in here in the parentheses, so that means it just gets rid of the white space. What other stuff? Imagine I have a string like that. Okay, that's an address. That's an address of the file, folder, etc. So let's say I have this one, and I want to get rid of the slash. So if I say in S, please split everything, and the criteria for you is the forward slash. So what's the result? The result is it tries to say what is in here, an empty string, then that's home, then IRESA, teaching, CA277, web. So that will be the result. If you want to get rid of the forward slash, right? You can do anything you want. You can say single dash. Okay, single dash, if I split the single dash, it will be David, it will be this guy, it will be this guy. And then here, it's C and a space, or kind of nothing between these two guys. So it would be an space, well, sorry, an empty kind of string in here also. So if you use any other separator inside the parentheses as the parameter of the split function, then it can separate for you the result based on that specific separator. Okay, so observe the leading empty string. So that's exactly what it is. So I don't want to go through this. So it could be something like this. Again, what is the usage? You have a date, a real world example. Like every week, if you remember, we used to go through some real world examples to see when probably we can use these things. So if I have read some dates from the input or from some file, etc., and I want to put them into different variables, that would be a good practice in here. So if I split this string using this separator, what would happen? Tokens would be a list of 3 items, and each item I know the order, so I can say year would be the first one, month would be the second one, and day would be the third one. And so imagine if you have read a long file of the lots of dates and you want to put them into something. So you can set a counter, go through each line, separate them, put them into here, and then finish the thing. So that would be a good example of playing with this. And then if you wanted to print back everything, you can just print, say, print day. I have it here, plus concatenated. You know what does it mean when you say, when you try to add some strings together, you know that plus means concatenation. So you concatenate day, which is this guy, 8, it is forward slash, and then month, and then forward slash, and yeah. So you can reprint it back in this step. So by far we have split a long string to its element based on the separator. We can do the reverse. We can join things together. Similarly, that's the join function. Okay, we say join things together. Okay, so how? I have these things which I have already had. Okay, so I can split them. That would be the result, right? And then I can say, okay, this token, which is some elements of a list, please join them together using what? Using a white space, that would be the result. Using a white space. Using a forward slash, that would be the result. Using a comma, using a double underscore, using nothing, just connect, join everything together. So you can join the things you have inside the list in this way. That would be a good idea. Maybe you want to, let's look at a real world example. You want to capture Imagine you have a computer vision system, you have a camera. Imagine you have a Raspberry Pi. You have a Raspberry Pi, you want to generate kind of a time-lapse camera from a Raspberry Pi. You have installed an Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi, you have connected a camera to Raspberry Pi, maybe built-in camera of Raspberry Pi or external camera, something like that. And then you want to write a very simple OpenCV code to grab a picture from the camera, and then every 1 hour, for example, hourly pictures. So you want to set it for a month, for example. Let's say you have 24 hours, 24 times 30, that would be 720 images over a month. That would be a very beautiful example. And then you want to store those images somewhere, and you want to put the name. For example, you want to say, let's say that's the month of October. You want to say October, the dates, and then the number of the image. So you want to create a name like that for that image. So you can use, for example, Python. After reading the time, the name of the file, the date, everything, you can say, please concatenate, please join the character for me. The first thing I have a string of the thing. For example, the first thing I have is the name of the month, which is October, for example, OCT, and then that's the date, which is, for example, very similar to this date format. We can put even something like that, and then you can say the time, which would be maybe the hour, because we are not placing the minute and second. So you can create a just single name and then put .jpg. So you generate automatically the name of the file based on the information you have. So that's a very good real world example. That would be a good example, kind of a hobby and test for yourself in your free time. If you are interested, you can create something like that for yourself. It would be interesting to see what has happened to you over a month if you install something like that in your. Anyway, okay, so the join method help us to join elements of a string together. If I have a string of different items in here, then I can join them together based on what separator I'm looking for. I have a separator and then this guy. The separator definitely should come inside this double quote, right? That's something important you should take care of. Okay, so we talked about these things, and slicing is a list. We have already talked about that when we started talking about the lists. So you can create multiple lists out of a single list. For example, if I have a list of these things, I can take from the fourth, let's say fifth element to the last one, to the end, or from the first to the fourth one. So you can take different part of a list. So sliding a list. Imagine I have this string again. Imagine I split it. I have it in here. Then imagine I want to take from the fifth one to the end, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth. Okay, so that's first one, second one, third, fourth, fifth. This one is here, fifth in here. When we say that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in here. So from here to here, I want to take from 5 to end, which is this one. So I take the token, which is this one. Then I will say, please join them together with a space. So it would be like that. And then, so what is the usage? If you have a list of the things, you can get rid of, you can clean your data. Again, when you work with the databases, when you work with the data, you have loads of data. You want to put those data, for example, in a database. And then before doing anything else, you need to clean your data. Cleaning the data is a very important thing in lots of data science stuff. If it is putting the data inside the database, or if it is a data mining, for example, a machine learning algorithm, you want to put the data and train a network in artificial intelligence, or even, let's say, do a classification, etc. Cleaning the data is one of the most important parts. Let's say I want to, let's go for a real world example. Let's say I want to generate a machine translation system. I want to have a system that translates the text from one language to another. To create that machine translation system, I need to train a system I need to train a network in deep learning, for example, the deep learning network, deep network. Okay, so to do that, I need to generate some sort of data set. Let's say I want to convert the things. If I have it here, yeah. So let's say I want to generate a data set first. What is the data set? The data set is, for example, the sample of data you want to train your network. Okay, so for example, it should be, if I have this sentence in English, I want to generate a machine translation system from English to German, for example, or French, or anything else, or Arabic, or anything else. Okay, so I want to say in the database, in the data set, I should say, okay, that's the sentence I have in here. And let me see if I can go here and open a new page. If I can go to YouTube, if I can go to, let's say something different. Let's say TED Talk. Let's go to the TED Talk page. Okay, so in TED Talk, for example, I have some talks in here. Let's open one of them. I don't know which one. Let's go in this one. Okay. So if you look at this guy, you would see I have the text in here. So I should be able to see the script somewhere in here. The subtitle, that's script, and discover. You should be able to see the script. You should be able to see, there's somewhere in here transcript, one language. That's in one language in here. So we selected the crazy one. So let's go to add another one. Okay, we have 11 different cases in here. So let's stop it in here. So I have different transcripts in here. Let's say, for example, the Spanish one. Okay. So let's stop it. So see this one. So what we are talking about, what could be the real example of text processing and cleaning the data. So what I can do here, let me see if there is any question. There is no question. So I'm trying to create a machine translation system. So I need to train a network in deep learning, for example. I need to create a data set for that before anything else. So what could be the data set? That data set could be a sample of sentences in English and its corresponding Spanish version, translated Spanish version, okay? So that's the case. So I can write a code, first of all, to scrape this page. A scrape is another interesting thing you can do with the website, with the internet. You can automatically go to this website and read the content of this website. You can read all these things. You can understand in terms of the website design, in terms of the HTML, CSS, etc. Technology of the website, it has been implemented already. You can understand this part of the website is the text, a script of this video. You can extract that part, and then you can say, okay, I want to take these things as the pair. This one as the, first of all, the English version. Let's go to English. So I am a tree hunger, and in the Spanish, that's exactly the same one. So all these things are text processing. You will have all these things. You need to understand what is inside the structure of the HTML and CSS of the file. And then after that, you need to realize these pages are from where exactly. You need to extract them, and then you need to clean them. To clean them, you need to say, do I want to get rid of the stop point in here at the end of the sentences? What do I have in the HTML and CSS? If, for example, I can inspect element of the website to see what exactly comes in here. I don't see the content, I see only the HTML, CSS. the stuff, so you don't see the content in here. Okay, so it will be something like that. And then after scraping the data from this website, easily you need to work on the data, textual data, to get rid of the extra information and clean them. After you clean them easily, that's the time you can put them into a specific structure that your deep learning training system needs, and then start to train the system. So as you can see, that's a very good example of the things. You can do a lot of interesting project yourself with this kind of story. Okay, that was a real world example. One of the good things about the TED Talk is that's open to everyone to use it. So you don't have any restriction in terms of having access and scraping the website. But if you want to scrape, for example, the Amazon website, that's not that easy. If you want to scrape the Amazon website, it blocks your IP after quite a few times of trial, trying to read the data in a specific page. There are lots of pages, they do the same. Anyway, there are hacks for that, there are solutions for that. They change the IP address frequently to get rid of that problem, that sort of problem. But in general, like I said, that's the whole story. That is a good example. That would be a good project. Maybe I can define a project for you to ask you to go to this page and try to get rid of try to extract the information, put them together. That could be a good project. At some stage we can talk about. Anyway, that was a real world example. Like I said, you might need, let's say, probably, definitely, you will need to clean your data before doing anything else. And for cleaning the data, you need to split your strings, you need to join them together, you need to slice them into different strings and so on. So we have talked about that. Let's look at an example task in here. So write a Python script which timetable output only the module code. So I have a script like that. I have got that information from the input. So I want to only extract the module code and module title. So from this line, I want to extract these things and this thing, and so on for the next thing. Imagine we have end at the end of the line. You know where is exactly where the data is finished. Okay? There are other solutions also to understand where if you are at the end of the file or not. Okay. So the example output should be like that. So see, I have the code of the module and then the title of the module. That's the only thing. Somehow I'm cleaning the data. See, that's an example of the data cleaning. I'm trying to clean the data. I'm trying to get rid of the extra information which I have in here and I don't like them. I don't want to use it. So what would be the code to do that? I will generate an empty list first of all. Okay, then I want to read the data, this data from the input. That's the case I want to read the data from the input. There is also another case I want to read the data from a file. So in one go, you can read everything inside a specific file. But in this case, like I said, I want to get it from the input, from the user. So that's getting a string from the user. We have seen that in the first thing. So I have a variable which is called line. I'll go inside the loop. I'll say until line is not end, until you have not got to the end of the information you want, please the thing you have received, append it inside the time. Put it inside this empty list. And then again, try to get the next line from the user. I'll get the next line from the user. I'll come here. Is it end? No, it's not. So add it to the list. Again, take another one. Continue until you have received end, which is the last line. And if I receive the end, I will stop it. And I'm ready to clean the data. I have everything inside timetable. I'll say, okay, what is the length of timetable? The length of timetable should be 1, 2, 3, 4 because I have received 4 different kinds of strings. Okay, so I would say, please split for the first item of timetable, which is this line, first item of timetable, which is this line, please split that inside token. What do I want to consider as a separator? White space. That means this guy will go to the first item of the list, second item of the list, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth one. Okay, I have everything inside the token. And then I can say print, please, the third element of the token, and also join with a white space from token 5 to the end. Why? Because these things, they have had white space in here. They are not just a single string. It's not similar to this one. If it was similar to this one, I could say print tokens 3 and plus maybe something, plus space something, and something. For example, token 6, I don't know. But in this case, it's not just single string. It is different things. So I need to say inside the string, please join them with a white space. And then go to the next one. That will be the second line. Do the same, print the things in here. Go to the next one. Continue until you reach to the end of the length of timetable. You have fulfilled all the items inside this list. Okay, so that's an easy example that shows us how we can clean that data. For example, I can, instead of saying try to write a Python code which takes an input and blah blah and output, I might say, please clean the data inside this file by deleting everything except for the module code and module name. That would be another definition of the problem. So please clean the data. If I say please clean the data, that means please get rid of these things and this thing in here. So that means you should be able to print that. Okay, so that was the whole thing we talked about.